And then we had the rope walk incident at Gray's Rope Walk. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but back then, every ship that was out there, these tall ships with all of those masts, had about 25 miles of rope and, well, basically just line is what we called it. And we had rope walks where they actually made the rope. They were about 200 yards long, and they twisted hemp to build it. They used pine tar on that hemp to make it fluid, and then they used burnt tar on the ends to seal it. Burning hemp would make you kind of little loopy too, if I might add. The important thing is, one of the soldiers, a redcoat, came by and said, "Do you mind if I get a part-time job? I don't make enough money." They said, "Certainly, you could clean our outhouse." He didn't like that, and a fight ensued. More redcoats joined the fight. Everybody was stewing. Finally, cooler heads prevailed, and everybody went home. But they still were angry over that whole weekend. The following Monday, after the Sabbath, there was about 2 feet of snow. It was March 5th of 1770. And it was not a good time. There was a young man, his name was Private Hugh White. He was less than 5 feet tall. In fact, his Brown Bess musket stood taller than he did. And he was standing guard duty in all that snow at 9 o'clock at night in front of the customs house, not far from the old State House. And as luck would have it, some young boys were going by and they decided to insult him. But as a captain walked by in his red coat, they insulted him also. At which time Hugh White picked up his Brown Bess musket, smacked the young boy in the head, and he went around the street crying on King Street. The taverns emptied. The Bunch of Grapes emptied down the street. The Old British Coffee House emptied. People started coming into the street wondering what was happening, and they started having an issue with young Hugh White. As luck would have it, more and more people started gathering. Pretty soon people were picking up snowballs and throwing them at him. Then people were picking up shards of ice and throwing it at the young man. Pretty soon they started throwing boards at him. And they were basically breaking up furniture and bringing it along and smacking at him. He yelled for the main guard over at the old State House to help him out. The officer on duty was Captain Preston. He came with 6 other men, and they basically formed a semicircle in front of the customs house. More people started batting at him. They said, "You wouldn't dare fire." Imagine 500 to 1,000 people yelling, "Go ahead, fire, you cowards." Eventually, somebody threw a board. It hit one of the redcoats. He fell, and his Brown Bess musket went off. Instantly, there was quiet in the streets. Was anybody hurt? They discovered nobody was. The crowd got back on its feet, I should say. They started throwing more boards and smacking at these men. Pretty soon, another shot went off, and then all of the redcoats fired their muskets. 4 men were lying dead. A 5th would die a little bit later. Sam Adams was both sad and elated. Sad that men had died, but now he had his martyrs. He knew that he could finally do something.